Hey folks, I'm Gene Delasala with Audioholics, and right now I'm testing a new streaming software to do live streams through YouTube. As you guys are probably aware, Google Hangouts is now gone. It's eliminated from YouTube. I tried using a program called Zoom for the last couple of videos, but the compression was killing us, and of course you guys have been complaining. So I spent a good part of today just messing with this OBS Streamlabs software. I'm not sure how it's going to go. This is just a test run. But I figured why not talk about a subject you guys like to talk about, AV receivers. And a particular feature in AV receivers you may not be aware of. I want to talk about the web options on receivers. So let me see if I could share my screen here with you guys. And I want to talk to you. I have a Yamaha CXA 5100 processor and a okay, seems really buggy, so I don't know if it's working and it's not showing me chats. So this is probably going to be deleted, to be honest with you. I don't know who's watching. So with that said, let me share the screen again. Hey, so somebody there, you guys could see me? Okay. This is really weird. I just got to get used to this interface. All right, awesome. How's the sound quality, guys? Am I loud enough? Awesome. Okay. So, yeah, so we've got on Yamaha, I like Yamaha's web setup feature. All you have to do is, if you have IP control of your Yamaha Avantage receiver or your processor, you enter the IP address into the browser. I like web setup features that are IP controllable. The Integra one right now is not IP controllable. You have to download software to your PC. They're working on an IP control for their next gen receivers. What I like about IP control is you can pretty much control it from anywhere around the house. You don't have to have you know, a connection between your computer and the receiver with software. You can just do it through this browser, and the software is already on their database. So this is your basic functions here, kind of like a remote control. Just changing inputs and stuff and doing different settings like surround modes. But that's not the cool thing. The cool thing is when you type in setup in the URL. And if you want to get into all the nitty gritty of your speaker setup and your bass management and your EQ and all that stuff, you can do all of that here. And what's a real advantage of doing that here is if you don't have, let's say you don't have access to the remote control or the receivers in a different room, you could actually make on-the-fly adjustments as long as your computer's on the network, the same network that your AV receiver is on. You can do all that here. So for example, I've got all of my speaker for bass management. I've got, speaker size, large, small, different crossover points. These are my different speaker categories, like the front speakers, center, surround back. Not running presence. I'm actually running Atmos channels for those presence channels. I'm running a 7.1.4. Subwoofer configuration. You can see here the overhead channels. You could set the configuration whether they're front or rear height or overhead or Dolby Atmos enabled. Those are the bouncy speakers. Then you also have your distance settings here. Now I do them in feet typically. I don't know why it's showing in meters, but oh, never mind. There it is. There's your distances in feet, your level. And then what's really handy here is the PEQ function. So when I'm tuning a system, especially for bass, I make in-room measurements, and then I go in and I adjust with PEQ. So I figure out where the bumps are in the bass response, and I try to design a filter to kind of taper that off. Now, the only time that PEQ is going to be effective at bass frequencies for multi-seat is if you've got good seat-to-seat variance with all your subs already set up. So if you just have one subwoofer playing in the room and you go in and you measure let's say you measure a bump at 25 hertz and you knock it down with 7 dB with a Q of 6, EQ is the width of the filter. That's going to work for that particular place that you measured, but the bass might be different in a different location in the room. That's why you really need to get multi-sub set up first. You should get seat-to-seat variance as narrow as you can, so that way the bass measures similarly for each seat. So that way when you apply EQ, you apply it and it works for every seat, not just a very small listening area. So that's what I did here, as much as I could. With the Yamaha PEQ settings, pretty limited, but it is nice that you have these features here. And there's a bunch of other stuff you can do, whether you want to set your different surround modes or your DSP modes. So it comes in very handy with all these different things you can do here. Again, when you don't have access to the remote control and you don't have access to an on-screen display, so if you're in a different room where your TV or projector are, you don't have to worry about turning those on because you have access to all the setup here on your AV receiver. So the other one I wanted to show you was the Integra. Now this is software you have to download to your PC. Like I said, it's not it's IP controlled, but it's not through a web interface yet. So this thing is kind of a work in progress. I think they need to relabel some of these little tabs here because they say the same thing, but they do much different things. But it's actually a very good piece of software once you get to know to use it. So you can set up your different speaker configurations here. I don't know why it's doing that. I think it's because we're streaming or something and it's glitching like that. It doesn't normally do that. But here you have all your different distances. And let's see. I know there was some modes in here, like surround modes and setting your center channel spread. I couldn't find these options through the on-screen display, but I found them here. So there's a lot of cool stuff you can do in here. And there's the EQ. Okay. So the Integra doesn't have a PEQ. It unfortunately only has a GEQ. And just like Marantz and Denon products, they don't have PEQ, adjustable PEQ. And I've been nailing these guys for years saying, get rid of the GEQ. A GEQ is only fixed bands, so I can't adjust the bands and I can't adjust the Q of the filters. These are only marginally helpful. But the nice thing about the Integra one is it does go down to 25 Hertz, whereas the GEQ and the Marantz and Denon receivers, they stop, I think, at 63 Hertz. So at least you do get some contouring of your bass here. This is all accessible through this software. And in this particular setup, I am only running 5.1. And I'm not using the subwoofer filters here. But I could. I mean, this stuff is pretty useful. You have a lot of access to pretty much every setting you want in here. So I would totally recommend you guys check that out. And let me see if you're still watching. Squash Ball says this opens a door for Chinese hackers to hack into my AVR and steal my EQ settings. I love that. I want to use that. That's hilarious. Let me switch back. Thank you. I needed that. I needed that humor at this time of night because it's like 2:30 in the morning and I've been like going over this thing for a while and it's been pissing me off. But it looks like we have a solution. I hope that the audio quality and the video quality of what I'm doing here is better than what you saw in yesterday's video with the $750 recommended system, because the compression in that program just sucked, but it was really easy to use. This is a little more you have to do a little more finagling to get what you want here. But I'm trying to elevate the quality because I know we're an audio channel and we talk about high fidelity audio. We should at least have presentable audio and video. And that's what I'm trying to do here. I hope you guys find this useful. And we will be back hopefully this Friday night with Matthew and James Larson. They've got some speakers they want to go over. Some budget speakers. We're going to do another comparison. Assuming I can get this live stream working with multiple people, we will be back Friday night, probably, I'm guessing 11 p.m. Eastern time. So I am going to sign off now, my friends. I hope you found this enjoyment at this time of night, because I'm like falling asleep here trying to figure out what to say next. So this is a rough video. I'm sure we could use this as an outtake for some comedy relief. But anyways, I'm signing off, my friends. I hope this works going forward so we can keep doing it. And until next time, keep listening.